Taking the time to do a dry fit lets you make sure that your joinery fits correctly, any other pieces fit where they're supposed to, and lets you make sure that your work area is all set up for this so when you apply glue you aren't wasting time trying to get your clamps in position. One of the things I like to do during a dry fit is make sure that my clamps are positioned correctly. So after I apply glue, I can make sure I'm closing the joints and not causing a bow or anything in the piece. When applying glue, we want to make sure we get a nice even coat over the entire joining surface, including the edges that are rabbets. That's an important part of the joint too. Once the glue is applied, we have to work fairly quickly, but take the time to make sure that your joints are aligned properly and then apply just enough pressure to close them. As soon as you get the assembly in the clamps, measure the diagonals. And we want the diagonals to come out exactly the same on both sides. And these do. Let's say that this diagonal is 1/4 inch longer than this on this side. I would put a clamp across here and squeeze this approximately 3/8 of an inch. I want to overcorrect by about 1/8 of an inch so if the cabinet springs back at all, it'll come back to square. When you take diagonals, learn to read them the same way every time. That reduces the amount of error. When I hook the tape on, I try and get the center of the tape right on the corner. And then on the tape side, I always read off the right side of the tape at the top of the numbers. I do that on both sides, and it really minimizes how much error there can be just by how you apply the tape. With the piece glued and in the clamps and check for square, I'm going to let it sit for a couple hours, let the glue set up real good. I'm going to add dowels in the corners, but there's no sense doing that while the glue is wet. I'm taking too big a chance of knocking it out of square, just doing the drilling and putting the dowels in. We'll insert them a little later. Now that the glue's had a couple hours to dry, I'm going to start installing my dowel pins. I use the Miller dowels because they're easy to put in, they go in straight and they hold real good. We'll go ahead and pin all 4 corners and then we can take it out of the clamps and put the rest of the pins in. A major benefit of building a box shape that's actually square, we've cut the parts the same length, cut the joints right, assembled it correctly, is that the parts we put in later tend to drop right in. Some like to use a back panel to straighten out a crooked box, but that just builds stresses into the box that are going to show up later as the wood goes through humidity changes. If you build the box straight, you can cut the back panel nice and square and it'll fit right in.